I understand the appeal of Andrew Tate to young men, not for myself. I understand why young men follow Andrew Tate. I understand why he has millions upon millions of followers. There are basically two different types of famous people that impact our culture, right? There's the people that are in politics who primarily talk about political policy, and maybe I would be in this category. And then there are people in Hollywood that impact culture, like Kim Kardashian or like Taylor Swift. And then there are a third category of people who are famous, who have enormous influence over our society, who have one foot in each of these categories, one foot in political influence and one foot in cultural influence. And I would argue that the people that have one foot in each political and cultural are the most influential, because what is culture without politics, and what is politics except the outgrowth of culture? Andrew Tate has his feet in both politics and culture, and he's very appealing to young men. I totally understand why his videos go viral all the time. I've watched a bunch of them myself to understand the phenomenon. I think I can give a more objective analysis because I am not his primary targeted audience. I am not a young man. Andrew Tate has diagnosed a problem accurately, not just in our country, but in Western society at large. And that problem is that men are under attack. There is this proverbial war on masculinity that we hear about in politics is real. And it's not just real in politics. It's not just real in Washington, D.C. This is the experience of young men in their lives, in school and at work and online, in every entertainment venue that you can possibly imagine. Men are told that testosterone is a toxin. They're told that their desire to protect and provide and procreate is somehow marginalizing women, that it's oppressing women, that their strength is actually anarchy, and they're told that they're bad based on the fact that they're men. And the result of this is a generation of self-loathing young men who kind of believe that they should be self-loathing because that's what they're told, but also somewhere deep down inside their body, deep down inside their soul, they know that that's a lie. And so when someone like Andrew Tate comes along and says, wait a second, young men, you should be men. You should be tough. You should be resilient. You should protect and provide. You should want to be with a beautiful woman. You should want fast, powerful cars. You should want to work and be wealthy. Young men are like, yeah, that's right. That's exactly what I want. That truly speaks to me more than the toxic, well, it's really toxic femininity, isn't it? This toxic feminism that they have been fed that tell them they're bad because they're men. So all this being said, I understand why Andrew Tate has tens of millions of followers. I understand the appeal, and I understand the influence that he has on young men. But here's the thing. Andrew Tate is a very dangerous person. Andrew Tate is not someone who young men should listen to. Andrew Tate, if you listen to him, if you follow his instructions, will lead you astray. Andrew Tate is more toxic to men even than feminism. And what I want to do today, Patrick Bet-David and his team traveled to Romania, which is where Andrew Tate is currently under house arrest. He's been charged with rape of some women. We're not going to talk about that case. That's not the point of this episode or this discussion that I want to have today. But Patrick Bet-David asked Andrew Tate about his religious beliefs, because Tate used to be atheist, then he converted to Christianity, and then he converted again to Islam. And Patrick Bet-David asked him about his religious story. And within this religious story are two items that are proof that Andrew Tate is destructive to young men. That Andrew Tate, while he sounds appealing, while he portrays himself as this alpha, while he wants to assure young men that their masculinity isn't toxic, he betrays exactly why he himself is so toxic. So I want to watch this together. I want to break this down because I don't want young men to fall for this. If you know a young man that listens to Andrew Tate, if you've seen a video of Andrew Tate yourself, you're going to be super interested in watching this breakdown. Before we get to it, I want to talk to you about revolutionary relief. Revolutionary relief is a huge game changer. The topical roll and gel capsules work together to provide targeted pain relief. This is how it works. First, you apply the roll directly to your knees or your elbows, your neck or your back, and that brings immediate soothing relief. All the while, the gel capsules tackle internal pain and inflammation, giving long-lasting results. The secret to this lies in the patented active ingredient. It's called Canopia Active. It's derived actually from plants. It's 3,500% more effective than other products thanks to its water solubility and rapid absorption. Revolutionary relief has given people the freedom to live without constant pain. And who among us hasn't suffered from pain? Studies indicate that 52 million adults in the United States experience pain on a daily basis, whether that pain is age-related or caused by exertion at work or during exercise or due to recreational activities like golf, tennis, or pickleball. Revolutionary relief aims to provide relief from this pain. And the creators of the product offer a 100% satisfaction guarantee, showing their confidence in the effectiveness of the product. And you can try Revolutionary Relief absolutely free for the first month, making it a risk-free opportunity. You might experience these potential benefits. To order Revolutionary Relief, visit their website at revrelief.com/free. Just go to revrelief.com/free to take advantage of this offer. You will not be disappointed. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is I want us to watch as Patrick Bet-David asks Andrew Tate about the evolution of being first an atheist and then a Christian and now supposedly a Muslim. And I want you to listen to very closely to why Andrew Tate says he has joined the religion of Islam, because this is actually key to why Andrew Tate is toxic. Take a listen.
With your life, it's been interesting watching you go through your evolution of your faith. Yep. Pre-2022, former atheist, couple of the things you've said in the past, God isn't real because you can't prove it. Yep. Okay, kind of like that was more the Malcolm X argument, right? Yep. Bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people far too often for God to exist. Yep. I'm the center of my universe. That's pre-2020. Yep. Then gradually you start talking about Christianity and, you know, in 2020 you made a video announcing that you were wrong about what you had said previously about God, right? Now you start saying people are who are atheists are angry, bad energy people, and I don't want to be on that team anymore. And even if God is not real, the world is a better place if people do believe in God. I know God is real because there's so much evil in the world that there has to be an equal and opposite force. The devil can't exist if God does not. And if you look at the world today, it is very obvious that the devil does not exist. And I'll go to the last one here with Muslim. Quotes from you. Christians don't have a religion anymore because they tolerate everything and stand for nothing. Yeah. And by the way, I actually agree with you, the fact that they're tolerating way too much. Islam is the last religion on the planet. God is something to be feared, respected, and to prove yourself to. What's been your evolution of your faith, and where are you at today?
Yeah, I think Newton's, it's third law, equal and opposite force, what you just said there is absolutely true. There has to be an equal and opposite force to all the evil in the world. And that the equal and opposite force to all that evil has to be God. And I've talked about this at length even with atheists, and I try and say that regardless of whether you're an atheist or not, you're thinking of God as a man in the sky, but you need to think of God as a concept as a whole. And once you do that, it's impossible to accept that he doesn't exist, right? I said to the atheists, I said, let's say there was 2 islands. You're shipwrecked, right? And there's 2 islands. Both of them are full of savages. On one island, you and your friend are shipwrecked. On one island, your friend goes and he crashes and they kill him and they eat him. And you go to another island and they want to kill you and eat you, but they don't because it's against their religion. Mm-hmm. Did God save your life? Who cares? Who doesn't even know the name of their God? But their God said, don't kill shipwrecked survivors. And now you're alive. So their God saved your life. The concept of God in and of itself saved your life. You owe God just for the concept of it, the idea of it. So even the idea of opposing evil as a whole is a belief in God. So you're either an evil person or you believe in God in some regard. And then once I understood that there had to be an equal and opposite force, I was raised Christian. I live in a Christian nation. Romania is actually, I think, the second or third most Christian country on earth. It's a very Christian country here. It's churches everywhere. They strongly believe. And that's where I began my journey. But I always had a very healthy respect for Islam because I understand that to a degree, to have a religion at all, you have to have an intolerance to a degree. Because without an intolerance, you don't have rules. You don't have laws. You don't have any, like you said, you have to earn God's respect. If you're a religion which is tolerant of everything, then you don't have to earn God's respect. You can be a bad person and do bad things. God loves me, so it's fine. Well, no, it's not, because that's not the point of the religion. So then you extrapolate that out, and I was sitting and thinking, well, what's the primary function of a religion? And the primary function of a religion, I don't believe is the religion exists so I can live forever. I mean, that's a nice thought. But I think on a macro level, the primary objective of a religion is to restore and contain some degree of traditional value within the society. How do you judge, let me change the way I worded that. How do you judge the success of a religion? I don't think you can judge it by the number of people who join it, because there's lots of people who are Catholic who don't act Catholic. They don't act in any way particularly Christian. Anyone can say they're something. You can walk into a strip club and everyone says they're Christian. It doesn't mean anything, right? So how do you judge the success of a religion? Well, I like to think the best way to judge the success of a religion is how successful is it at fighting evil? How successful is it at preserving the morality of a population in X parameter, in X geographical area?
Okay, let's stop the video right there for a second. Let's stop right there. Because within this description from Andrew Tate about why he chose the religion of Islam over Christianity or even over atheism shows us why Andrew Tate diagnoses the problem correctly, right? He and I can sit here, and even though we have wildly different worldviews, we can both recognize the reality that in our Western culture, there is an assault on masculinity. There is a war being fought against men. His diagnosis of the problem, his recognition of that reality is correct. But then the question, after you recognize the reality of something, I mean, you and I always sit here and say we have to recognize the reality of the political enemy that we face in order to order our actions to fight against it. If we don't recognize the reality, we won't fight well against it. You do have to ask the question, okay, well, once I recognize this reality, what do I do about it? What is the solution? What is the prescription to address the diagnosis? And that is where Andrew Tate goes wildly astray. His diagnosis is correct and his prescription is poison. His prescription is utter poison. And the reason for that, the reason that his prescription is so wildly off base is he articulated it in this answer. The primary purpose of a religion. Well, what is the primary purpose of a religion? If you are a Christian or you are a Jew or you are a Muslim, then you understand that the primary purpose of a religion is to worship God. The primary purpose of a religion, I'm not trying to give you a homily here, I'm just stating what religions believe their purposes are. The primary purpose of a religion is the salvation of souls. It's the eternal salvation of souls, not just this life on earth, but in the afterlife as well. But Andrew Tate doesn't recognize that about the religion that he claims to be a part of. He claims that a successful religion is one that properly orders society. So he's using religion not for the primary purpose, not for what a religion believes itself to be, but he's using religion just for its secular function, that when people are ordered along morals, if they have a general understanding in a society of right and wrong, of good and bad, of justice, then their society functions better. It is a more effective society. Well, that is not the primary purpose of a religion. So Andrew Tate's prescription is wrong because he actually has no sense of morality. He might have an innate sense that masculinity is under attack. This is actually a function of just the reason of mankind. Every man, woman, and child on earth is endowed by their creator with the ability to reason. This is how we determine natural law. It's how we know that murder is wrong without being told as children that murder is wrong. We just know that it's wrong. We know that it's wrong. We know that a man can't be a woman and a woman can't be a man because these things are natural law. So when he says God, he's talking about the concept of God as it applies secularly to the organization of a society. That's the first red flag that should show young men who find Andrew Tate appealing that Andrew Tate is not someone to listen to when it comes to what is morality, what is masculinity, how should men behave, what is the proper way that our society should function with men and women complementing each other instead of being at war with each other. Andrew Tate is completely wrong about this. That's red flag number one. Red flag number two is that Andrew Tate, according to his own religious beliefs, as we will listen to in just a moment, he believes that self is at the center of a religion. He essentially is worshiping, not God. He's not even worshiping like in a secular way, the order of a society. He's worshiping himself. And the reason for that is because he misdefines the word respect, a very important word, a word that has gotten completely demonized and belittled, especially when it comes to women respecting men and men respecting each other. Andrew Tate has the wrong definition of respect. I'm going to show you that video in just a second, but first I want to talk to you about Students for Life Action. 2024 is right around the corner, and both parties recognize that young voters are going to play a key role in deciding this upcoming election. Students for Life Action is the only national pro-life organization working to turn young people against abortion. And as a result, they're facing constant attacks from pro-abortion radicals like Antifa and a group called Jane's Revenge. You might recognize that group because they're the ones that organize protests outside of the homes of Supreme Court justices, same ones that vandalized crisis pregnancy centers. Yeah, them. Students for Life Action has faced them. And Students for Life Action has even had to take legal action against universities who have tried to silence them for speaking the truth about abortion. I can tell you no other group gets under the skin of pro-abortion radicals more than Students for Life Action. But frankly, standing up to the pro-abortion mob day in and day out can be grueling. That's why I'm asking you to join me in encouraging these young pro-life leaders. Text Liz to 20401 to sign your statement of support for pro-life students. This simple action will go a long way to lift up the next generation and encourage them to not back down in the face of attacks by pro-abortion radicals. That's LIZ to 20401 to tell pro-life students you have their backs in the battle to end abortion. Text Liz to 20401 to tell pro-life students on the front lines that you have their backs. So Andrew Tate has the wrong definition of respect. Completely wrong definition of respect. And because he has the wrong definition, he misapplies the word to every aspect of his life. So let's hear how Andrew Tate defines respect first, and then I'll show you why he's wrong. Take a listen.
But what is respect without fear? Do we respect men we don't fear? If there's a man who could do absolutely nothing to you on any level at all, you might be nice to him, sure, because we're not bad people. But would you really respect him? If you could take his chick in front of his face and set his car on fire, and he wouldn't do a thing, you wouldn't respect him. You might be nice to him because we're not bullies, but you wouldn't respect him. Respect and fear are linked. They're not always the same thing, and you can maybe have fear without respect, but it's very hard to have respect without fear.
That's incorrect. That's completely incorrect. And this is the basis for why Andrew Tate can diagnose a problem accurately. He can say, yeah, men are under attack, and that can be very appealing to young men to hear Andrew Tate say this, but why, when Andrew Tate's saying, okay, but now that you understand that you're under attack, this is what you should do about it to be a good man, that is totally wrong. So what is respect? There's essentially two different ways that people understand the word respect. Women understand the word respect differently than men understand the word respect. So let's start first with women. Women respect men who will sacrifice their lives for us. I respect my husband because I know that if I am under any kind of threat, physical threat, spiritual threat, my husband will lay down his life in order to protect me. I respect that. That is how women understand respect. I do not respect people I fear. There are men that I fear. Of course there are. I don't respect a man that I fear. I don't respect a man who would leverage his superior physical strength against me. There will not be one shred of respect. And any woman who says that she respects a man that she fears is lying. That is simply not true. She might say that. She might be duped by Andrew Tate, but it's not true. And men who act with physical aggression towards women in order to force some kind of respect, well, they're fooling themselves, because the women that might be cowering because they fear those men do not respect those men. Zero respect. So fear is actually the opposite of respect. Now, the way that men view respect, the way that men respect each other is a little bit different, because there's not the physical disparity that there is between men and women in their strength. Men respect other men who are unwilling to compromise on matters of principle and moral, on right and wrong, even in the face of social coercion. Men who are stalwart in what they believe, that's when men respect other men. Men don't respect, it's probably similar actually. Men don't respect other men just because they're physically superior. They might prudently not, like a prudent man would not go and punch a drug cartel member in the face because he understands the consequence of what would happen if he did that. That's not respect, that's fear. But Andrew Tate misdefines what respect actually is and what fear actually is. And what Andrew Tate is describing, he's actually describing a society that is nothing more than anarchy. If our society is based on this hierarchical structure of just who is physically the most dominant, that's just anarchy. That's not a chain of respect. It's not a chain of command. That's just anarchy. And the example here too is men can respect other men who do not pose them a physical threat. For example, take a person with ALS, right? Maybe they're bound to a wheelchair. They need help doing everyday things like eating and speaking and going to the bathroom. They certainly do not pose a physical threat to someone like Andrew Tate. But good men respect disabled people. They respect their dignity and their worth and their value. They respect their opinions because just because they're physically disabled doesn't mean that they're not worthy of respect. So as you can see, this misdefinition of respect informs Andrew Tate's worldview in a really poisonous way. So now he thinks in order for him to be respected, he has to instill fear and dominance into everyone else. And so all of a sudden it's probably starting to make sense why Andrew Tate convinces young women to form a romantic attachment with him and then convinces them to move to his compound where they essentially are live-in concubines to him. And then he manipulates them into performing sexually in front of a webcam, which he sells online. He's running a pornography business. Well, if you don't understand the definition of respect, which is based in virtue, it's based in principle and unwavering commitment to those virtues and principles, which of course, the very definition of right and wrong and virtue and justice is based in natural law. If you reject that or don't accept that, then what you're going to find is you're going to find what Andrew Tate is. Andrew Tate abuses people. Andrew Tate exploits people. Andrew Tate is actually peddling something that's very, very wrong. That's not someone to respect. That's not someone to admire. That's someone who's actually harming a great deal of other people. So then, of course, I want to show an example. So when I say I understand why people find Andrew Tate to be appealing, I actually do understand this. I'm not saying this to pander to young men or to try to get them to listen to what I'm saying here. No, I understand because Andrew Tate, in between his very bad advice and his complete lack of morality, he says some things that are true, some things that need to be said, and some things that are unpopular to be said, which makes it even more appealing when Andrew Tate says them. Take a listen to this.
Also, I heard someone say once that we see the world as we see ourselves. If you're a thief, you think everyone's a thief. If you're a liar, you think everyone's a liar. And I kind of agree with that. I understood that. I also like to think we see religion as we see ourselves. I like to see myself as a person whose respect you have to earn. I like to see myself as a person who has strong, rigid boundaries. I like to see myself as a person who will stand up and say, no, that's wrong. I like to see myself as a person who's not afraid of being shamed by whatever community for saying, I don't agree with that particular ideal. I like seeing myself that way. So if I'm going to see myself that way, then I'm going to naturally align with a religion that operates within that form.
Okay, so I know that there's a lot of people watching this that aren't religious, and that's totally fine. But just so you're aware, the Christian church teaches that there are many forms of the Antichrist that exist right now in modern society. And this is a perfect example of exactly how the Antichrist acts. The Antichrist is not evil. Let's just call it evil so as not to turn off people that aren't necessarily devout religious people. The idea of evil is not like this disgusting toad with warts on it. It's not something that we are repelled by. It's not something that disgusts us. It's not something that we don't even want to look at, let alone associate with. Evil disguises itself as something very appealing, very seductive, very attractive, something that we want to hold and touch and bring close to us. That's why evil is tempting. If evil was disgusting, then no one would be tempted by it, right? Evil has to have some appeal in order for us to be tempted by it. So whether it's gratification of our bodies or gratification of our ego or gratification of our vanity, gratification of our pride, whatever it is, evil is promising us something that we find to be very seductive. And that's exactly what Andrew Tate is doing here. He's stating things, what he said there, that how he views himself. Well, that's correct. Like that is how one should view themselves. You should take pride in the good kind of pride and the fact that you are unwilling to waver when your values are challenged, that you don't care what the backlash is, that you are a solid person of what it should be, a solid person of faith. And so this is exactly what an Antichrist figure does. An Antichrist figure says in a very attractive way, like, we are men. We have values. We are worthy of respect. We only respect other men worthy of respect. We're tough. But the Antichrist, like Andrew Tate, also says, but the only thing that you have to surrender in order to be part of our exclusive club, the only thing you have to surrender is all of these things that I mentioned. You can only take part in this if you don't worship Jesus Christ, if you worship me instead. That's exactly how the Antichrist operates. That is, it's worship of self, perhaps, or worship of the strong man of the moment, which is probably how Andrew Tate thinks of himself. And it's an incredibly dangerous message to be instilling in young men. Andrew Tate, this is the second point that I wanted to make, that that Andrew Tate's lack of morality is based in his lack of religious understanding, his lack of acknowledgement that natural law exists. And the second point, that he is creating a religion around worship of self, is he essentially admits as much when he talks about why he went from atheist to Christian to Muslim. Why did he want to become Muslim? Because he didn't want to be associated with people that he thought were squishy. He didn't want people around him because he didn't want to be tainted by that reputation. It's all about him. It's all about his own self-image. And I'm going to show you that video in just a second. But first, I want to talk to you about Cozy Earth sheets. I have Cozy Earth sheets on my bed at my house right now. And the reason that I tell you this is because I love them, and I know you will love them too. Listen, Cozy Earth has been a sponsor on this show for quite some time, and I rave about them all the time because I genuinely like sleeping on their sheets, but I realized that I have been remiss in the fact that I haven't described to you exactly what I like about these sheets. So back in college, I had this set of sheets. They were like a maroon pink color, and they were jersey sheets. They were like the t-shirt sheets, and I loved them. They were so soft, except for the fact that anybody who's had jersey sheets knows this. They got baggy on the mattress all the time, which is gross. And once you become an adult, you don't want to have baggy sheets on your bed. You want a more luxurious type of sheets. Well, Cozy Earth sheets are the best of both worlds. They are as soft as these jersey sheets. They're so smooth, they're so luxurious, and they fit tightly around your bed. I have the color white because that fits the motif of my bedroom. But they have a lot of other colors that you can try if you like those colors better. And right now, you can save 35% on Cozy Earth. Just go to cozyearth.com/Liz35. Be sure to enter my promo code Liz35 at checkout to save up to 35%. That's cozyearth.com/Liz35. cozyearth.com/Liz35. So when Andrew Tate is describing what motivated him to choose the religion of Islam, he didn't actually state any belief in any of the tenets of the religion of Islam. He just essentially said that he thinks that Muslims are cooler, and he only wants to be associated with cool people. Listen to this.
So when I say Islam is the last religion on earth, I say it because it seems to be the only one who will stand up and say, no, we don't care. No, that's not what the book says. No. I was raised Christian, and Muslims as a whole, we have no problems with Christians. None at all. I don't want anyone to think I'm anti-Christian, like I dislike Christians. We don't have a problem with Christians. We believe in a lot of the same things. We believe in Jesus. We put more respect on the name of Jesus than most Christians do. I just don't like the idea of people saying they're a Christian and saying, but because I'm a Christian, I can do whatever I want and throw all the rules away and none of it matters. Because once you have that level of tolerance, you no longer have a religion. Islam seems to be the last religion left with parameters. If you don't have parameters, you don't have a religion at all. So the closer I found myself to God, the closer I found myself to Islam. That's just how it ended. I don't know. I just don't think that's a healthy mindset. Like when I see these Satanists, and they're, especially in America, and they're doing, let's keep it on Christianity, these Satanists, and they're dressing up Jesus as gay and all this stuff, like, that's not done in any kind of good faith. There's no good reason to do that. That's done with genuinely malicious intention. And what kind of people want to do that? And then the answer by extension is, I thought America was a Christian country. So how can you have a Christian country where the prophets of the religion are mocked to the highest possible levels within the confines of the country and it's promoted? Is that a Christian country? Doesn't seem like a Christian country to me. I don't think the same thing would happen with Islam in Saudi Arabia. I can't imagine that happening. So how can you say we're a Christian country, but everyone's mocking our God on the streets? Ha ha ha. It's on Netflix, ha ha ha. That's not a Christian country to me. So if you're not a Christian country, then where's the religion? The religion's supposed to enforce certain boundaries. You're supposed to at least show it respect.
Okay, so this is a perfect example. There's a grain of truth in what he says. There's a grain of truth that the Christian religion has been diluted, or at least the church at large has been diluted by wokeness. That's true, that's accurate, especially in the American Christian church. There are a lot of woke pastors, there are a lot of woke preachers, there's a lot of woke theology that has poisoned the Christian church, especially the Protestant churches and some of the evangelical churches that are a little bit more independent on their doctrine. He's not wrong about that. But the point that he's making is not a critique of the theology of these churches. The point that he's making is he doesn't want to be associated with people who he perceives to be less than cool or less than feared. Right? He might use the word respect, but what he means is he doesn't want to be associated with people who other people don't fear if their beliefs are challenged. This is a religion of worship of self. this is, again, what would this result in? This would result in, it's not respect, this would result in anarchy. Anarchy, because he believes religion's primary purpose is not the salvation of souls, not the worship of God, but the most rigid social order that he wants to abide by. This is all based on his own self-image. And by the way, not to get too deeply into the theology here, but I'm pretty sure he contradicts most of the tenets of the religion of Islam. He says he has nothing against gay people. I'm pretty sure the religion of Islam is anti-homosexuality. He also says that there are many paths to God. That, again, is not according to the tenets of the religion of Islam. Not to get too nitpicky here, but he is, he is speaking blasphemies against the religion that he claims that he wants to be a part of. The most important point, though, that I think I found a little bit, I don't know, I sat back and I thought about this. I thought, oh man, that's actually an insightful point, is he said, and this is element number 8, he said, when these things, say the pride parades that we've seen with the men with exposed genitals in front of children, when we see these things, what does a Christian answer? How does a Christian respond to this? And he's, of course, critiquing Christians for not standing up or standing against this immorality. But listen to what he says.
I just found myself, as I became more and more religious, seeking and looking for a faith which not only I could be proud of, but a faith which was guiding in regards to, I don't know what a Christian would answer to certain questions nowadays. What does a Christian answer to, I'm a transsexual and I want to show your kids my genitals? What's a Christian? Well, a Christian's supposed to say no, do they? I know what my Muslim friends would say. I don't know. If you're a Christian, I don't know how you're supposed to act. I don't know what you're supposed to adult. I don't get it anymore.
I got to tell you, when I first heard that, it took me aback a little bit, because I thought, listen, this is the importance of the Christian witness. This is the importance. Every Christian who has been seduced by the idea that abortion might be compassionate, or the transgender ideology is just being tolerant, that being gay, they refuse to say, or they're afraid to say, they're uncomfortable to say that homosexuality is a sin and abortion is a grave moral evil. Your refusal to take a stance in alignment with biblical values actively turns people away. And Andrew Tate just admitted that it turned him away. So if that is not a wake-up call for standing up for your Christian values, then I don't know what is. But the reason Andrew Tate is so attractive to young men is because he sits there and no BS. He's very authentic in his presentation. He has no problem debating uncomfortable topics. He has no fear of confrontation, even with forces maybe larger than he is. And in a sense, that's what we want in a culture warrior, right? That's what we want. We want that kind of alpha male to take the leadership, to be a warrior. But therein lies the seduction. Therein lies the seduction of Andrew Tate, because while his diagnosis of some problems are correct, his prescription is outright poison. And in this video, among many others, but this video perfectly exemplified the dangers of Andrew Tate. Send this to any young man that you know who has found Andrew Tate inspirational, so that they can stay far, far away. We're going to talk about something else pretty controversial today on the show. Chrissy Teigen, Hollywood celebrity, she's married to singer John Legend. She announced that she had hired a surrogate to carry her 4th child. Now, I'm going to read what she posted on Instagram first, and then talk a little bit about what a hot button topic surrogacy is, but why we as conservatives, not just Christians, this isn't even a religious thing, why we as conservatives need to start speaking out against surrogacy. So this is what Chrissy posted on Instagram. She said, "For as long as I can remember, I've always wanted 4 children. As a little girl, 2 glowworms and 2 Cabbage Patch dolls were perpetually in my arms, helping me stir in my pretend kitchen, watching Alf with me. We'd sleep together nightly, each getting the same amount of kisses as to not make the others jealous. My mom always searched for the pound puppy with 4 pups in her pouch, having no qualms about opening and peeking inside before purchasing." That sounds cute, right? Chrissy goes, "After losing Jack, I didn't think I'd be able to carry any more babies on my own." Now, for those of you who don't know, Chrissy Teigen lost her son Jack at, I believe, 20 to 23 weeks. It was just before viability. She had some kind of uterine rupture or placental abruption, I think it might have been, and she tragically had a stillbirth and lost her son Jack. She posted pictures of it online, which is how I know about it and how millions of other people know about it. It was heartbreaking. I remember sitting there and crying for Chrissy Teigen and saying prayers for her, because it's every mother's worst nightmare to lose her child. She shared this with the world, which was actually an incredible testimony to the humanity of her unborn child, which of course caused backlash from the pro-abortion crowd. They were like, actually, Chrissy Teigen had an abortion to save her life, when she did not. She had a placental abruption, which results in the death of her child. She was hemorrhaging and bleeding out, and that caused her child to die. That's not the same as an abortion. But It was a very heartrending thing that Chrissy Teigen shared with the world. So she goes on in this Instagram post to say, to be honest, I personally blocked out a lot of my mindset during that time, but one clear memory is being surrounded by people who wanted to make sure I wouldn't go through that pain and loss again. So in 2021, we reached out to a surrogacy agency with our first correspondence inquiring about perhaps having 2 tandem surrogates to each bring us a healthy baby boy or girl, twins kinda. At some point early in our surrogacy journey, I came out of a therapy session, walked downstairs and said to John, I want to try to carry just one more time. If it doesn't work, we'll be okay. We've already seen the worst. I promised I would be okay no matter what happened. I remember saying I just couldn't go on wondering my whole life if I should have tried again. And so we restarted the IVF process, the same process that gave us our beautiful Luna and Miles. We made new embryos, we did my transfer, and we're so happy to learn it worked. We were pregnant with our little girl, Esty. Around the same time, we also met the most incredible, loving, compassionate surrogate we could ever imagine, Alexandra. I knew she was a perfect match for us the moment we spoke to her. All of our wishes and dreams aligned. I wanted to be her friend. I wanted our children to play. I wanted dinner together. I wanted to lay my head on her belly and be able to feel the hiccups and kicks. I wanted them to be in our lives for as long as time would allow. The first embryo we tried with Alex didn't survive, and I will never forget how hard she fought to get ready for a second transfer, how much she gave up of her own body, surgeries to get scar tissue cleared, the mental toll it takes to go through all of that for yourself, much less for other people. Not wanting to rush the process, we took a breath and were just patient. I laid around, Chrissy wrote, enjoying the first trimester of my pregnancy, with, of course, a little bit of fear that isn't any different from any other expecting couple. As we crept toward the safe zone of my own pregnancy, we were overjoyed to learn Alexandra had become pregnant with a little boy. We ate hot pot to celebrate, watched Vanderpump Rules with our growing bellies, our families blending into one for the past year. Just minutes before midnight on June 19th, I got to witness the most beautiful woman, my friend, our surrogate, give birth amidst a bit of chaos, but with strength and pure joy and love. We want to say thank you for this incredible gift you have given us, Alexandra, and we are so happy to tell the world he is here with a name forever connected to you, Wren Alexander Stevens. Our hearts and our home are officially full, and to Jack, we know both their angel kisses are from you. And then she posts a picture of her kissing the pregnant belly of her surrogate, Alexandra, and shows a picture of herself with her baby that was born from this surrogate. Now, at first glance, this seems like a very touching tale. There's a lot of babies in that house, and you know my view on babies. I think everyone should have as many babies as they possibly can, because who doesn't want to love on these sweet dumplings? So at first glance, this seems like a really beautiful story, but if you stop and you think about this, it's actually kind of sad. Not because there's anything about these children or this child that was born via the surrogate that's any less. This child is beautiful, created in God's image, worthy of dignity and respect and love. And because of that, it's incredibly sad what happened to it. It's incredibly sad when surrogacy actually commodified Alexandra. It's not a true friend of Chrissy Teigen. She hired this woman, she rented her womb, which turned this woman into something to be bought and sold, something to be rented, which is an affront to the dignity of this woman and an affront to the dignity of the child that she carried. It actually, what happens in a society when we commodify women and women's wombs like this is rich women like Chrissy Teigen end up hiring poor women as rental wombs, which sounds dystopian because that's exactly what it is. It is dystopian. It is dystopian. And there was a story that I read recently about Lance Bass. He's gay and he has a gay partner. And because they're two men, they couldn't have a child together. So they hired a surrogate. And Lance Bass was talking about his experience with surrogacy. And he said for the first year of their children's life after birth, their babies wouldn't bond with him. He said it was really weird. It threw me off that my children didn't want me. They didn't love me. They wouldn't allow me to hold them and comfort them. He's like, but when my mom came over, all these children wanted to do is snuggle with my mom. And that one just punched me in the gut when I read that story, because I thought, yes, these children want a mother. They're desperate for the love of a mother that can only come from a woman. I'm sure Lance Bass likes these children and loves these children, but he is not the mother of these children. And this testimony about surrogacy, or you heard testimony about surrogacy from Khloe Kardashian recently, when she said she didn't feel bonded to her son who was born from surrogacy. In fact, she felt like it was kind of a dirty, weird process, a transactional process is the word that she used, because this woman gave birth to this baby in the hospital room, and then immediately the baby was transferred to Khloe in another room. And the mother the birth mother and the baby were separated, even though the baby was created from Chloe's egg and some man's sperm. And if it sounds convoluted, it's because it is. When a desire for children is a good and wholesome desire, I don't fault Chrissy Teigen for wanting a family of 4. I think that's actually a beautiful testimony in a culture that so often shames people who want children or portrays children as a burden rather than a blessing. That's fine. That's wonderful. But it's not about what Chrissy wants and what her husband wants. It's about what's best for the baby. And so you see that picture of Chrissy kissing the belly of that pregnant woman who carried and nurtured this baby. But then at birth, that baby was not given to the mother to hold on her chest for skin to skin. It was not nursed by this woman. It was removed from its mother, separated from its mother, its birth mother, and given to the couple that had just rented the woman's body to incubate the baby. And I know that this is a really touchy topic for a lot of people. I know a lot of people have done surrogacy, and I know a lot of people think, well, isn't this a pro-life thing? To be able to use science and technology to enable more people to have more babies, isn't this life-affirming? And the answer to that is no, it's not. It reduces women to just things that can be vessels that can be bought and sold, and it harms the child. It deliberately forces a trauma in this child's life just to serve the desire of the parents. So am I happy for Chrissy Teigen? I'm always happy to see a little baby. There's no circumstance, no way that a child was conceived, good or bad, that is going to make me look at a baby any differently. That baby was beautiful. But if the process that was deliberately inflicted on this baby that will follow this baby for the rest of his life, that is not something that we should tolerate in this society. And it is something that conservatives shouldn't sit back and let happen because it's an uncomfortable topic, or they know someone who has used a surrogate, or they think it might be life-affirming. This is something that we should take a firm stance on. Otherwise, it's a slippery slope that I can't define what the limiting principle on this kind of commodification of humanity would be. All right, if you haven't already signed up for my email newsletter, would you go to lizwheeler.com/email and sign up? It is so much fun so far, so much fun to send out these emails. I give you show research, I give you notes, I give you all the stories that the mainstream media, the corporate media doesn't want you to hear, that big tech censors, right to your inbox so that you are fully informed and deputized for these cultural battles that we face day in and day out. And before we go, we have one more cool thing. One more cool thing. This is something my producers pulled that even I haven't seen yet. So let's take a look at it together, shall we?
What kind of car you want to drive? Bugatti. And what you want to do in life?
I want to smoke cigars on a yacht with 100 women that can't look me in the eye.
And I got just the guy that'll help us do that.
All right.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny.
Stop that.
That is so funny. That's a fake Andrew Tate.
I wish you didn't do that.
I said stop! You ain't Andrew Tate. You Andrew Tate.
That is so funny. But that's also, by the way, look at how many people are influenced by Andrew Tate, that there's even spoof videos about him. That is hilarious. All right, guys, thank you for watching today. Thank you for listening. I'm Liz Wheeler. This is The Liz Wheeler Show. If you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button below, and ring the bell to make sure you never miss a video.